All right, what is up, everyone? Hope you all are staying safe out there. As always, welcome back to the Revan Trading channel. I have been working in the background here on a lot of new things, so we'll talk about those today. But first, let's look at a couple strategies, and then just some analysis on Bitcoin and silver, and maybe Tesla, maybe gold. We'll see where we get to today. Right now, we're looking at a daily time frame that just had an entry for Bitcoin on at about 69K, almost 69,300 area. This is based on the MBO and HBED. These are two indicators I gave out during Christmas and early in January. So if you have these indicators, this is available in the Discord. It's taken mostly wins, surprisingly, even though we had all these big dump offs over the past few months. So again, I was posting this back in December and had a few nice wins since I posted this strategy. The last loss it took was back in November. So at some point it will take some more losses because I think the hit rate is 37%. So it's not, it loses more trades than it wins, but each trade has a really massive profit factor. So that's what keeps it the most profitable. But again, all of these trades back here were just some nice small daily scalps. We'll see where this one goes here, but it is available there on the Discord. Looking at the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, not a whole lot going on here recently. I did post, I believe this was maybe in on Crown's Discord in the public channel there. I posted that I was taking a short back here when it tested the midline. A lot of times, if you know how the ribbons work, you can take scalp trades off of first test and wicks into band areas, but you have to manage risk very well. And usually what I will do is I will take a short on a wick above, and then if it closes above, I will exit the trade. So you can see this one had a nice wick above, and then from there, I think it was like a 5%, 6% drop. I only took 3% profit, I believe, on this one because I didn't want to get too greedy. But yeah, that was a very nice scalp short right there. And nothing too much going on since then. I mean, if you are trading swings, you could have gone long here at 68K. And that swing got all the way up to the midline, so that was a nice 3%, and then it got up to the resistance one band at about 4.7%. So will it get all the way to 73%? Possibly. I mean, I generally am looking at Bitcoin being in more of a swing area for most time frames, like the under the daily. So daily and below, I'm looking at more swings going on. This has a little bit of upward bias as long as you're above that midline, but to me, this is not necessarily a great entry point right here. I would much rather take a bit of a short off of the resistance one band or wait until it swung back down into the support dotted band right there. The dotted bands is where you generally take swings. And we do have some downside momentum here, though it's not very strong yet. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see it get down closer to 67K area over the next day or so. That is on the 4-hour. The 12-hour, actually, this one is very interesting. Here are the ribbon settings. Just put the band update frequency on 2 and adjusted these slightly right there. So these are the settings that I'm using for the ribbons here. We can see that it had a close above this dotted midline, which would have been a nice swing if you are looking for swings. Tested up into the midline, which is that's an 8% profit right now, and it's using that midline as resistance. So on a 12-hour time frame, I suppose if it was me, and I was trading 12-hour time frame, could take a swing short, or not a swing, a scalp short off of this midline here. I wish it was a little bit closer. It did test in a couple times, and actually the first test back here would have been the best test. So at 72,300, and you got down to 68K. So that would have already been a nice little scalp right there. But the momentum is up on the 12-hour time frame. I don't know what to make of this because momentum's up, but the midline is acting as resistance. So not a super big setup to go on right now. I would feel much more comfortable taking a swing off the bottom. Or if I was, a little bit more risk on, would probably take a short right here and manage it above that midline. So that's where we're at with the 12-hour. Next thing I want to look at is a new indicator. This indicator is using that midline that we talked about just a moment ago as our directional bias. So as long as it's closing under the midline, we get the oscillator is turning down. As long as we're above the midline, the oscillator is turning up. And it actually grades depends on where it is. So the further below the midline it is, it gives it a negative, extra negative bias, if that makes sense. So it turns down harder, depends on which zone it is. That's a better way of saying it. The interesting thing I found about this, and again, this indicator will be coming out soon for all Ribbon members, and I probably actually will even have it available, and anyone that's subscribed to the bumper bands will also get this specific indicator, not necessarily the ribbons, but this indicator. Very, very interesting here. So we saw a low, and I marked on the low right here, we saw it hit the same level that we saw the last several lows come in. Now, not all of these were the actual bottom, but we'll go back here all the way to 2019 and look at the first test right here. So the first time it tested into the level, I suppose, actually was back here, which that's crazy. It was actually on the literal low of 2019, the first test into that. And from there, it had a nice run up and actually made some, no, it did not make new all-time highs, but it did have a massive, massive run up about, let's look at that, about a 53, that's amazing, 53% run up, but this is, again, back in 2019 when things were a lot more volatile, 53% move based off of the touch into this level. The next time we saw it touch into that level, I suppose we did see it back here as well. We can look at that. This was not the perfect, I didn't mark this because it's not the perfect move right here. We did see it touch that level. It did go down, Bitcoin did go down another about 15% from that level, but that was very, very, very close to the low. And if we look at the bands here, they were not nearly as mature as they are now. So I would not really give this a whole lot of weight yet until the bands, got a lot of history to mature on. But regardless, it did have 15% move to the downside, but it was very, very near the lows of that bear market. The next lows were in 2021. We saw it was actually on a move up. So it was not the first test down. It didn't get quite into that level as it dropped down. So this, again, is a slightly different scenario, but it is at the same level. And actually the first test was right here. And then it saw the lows definitely were in at that point, and it saw a move about 99%, about 100% move from the lows right there. The next time was not at the bear market bottoms. This was in 2022 on the dump off, and the move up from there was a lot less severe, but it did mark the end of the downside for quite a while, and it was about 66 bars, so about 2 months. It went sideways and up about 23%, 24% from there. The next point was the bear market bottom, and that I suppose it did get a little bit lower. I can't say it was quite the bottom, but it did go up about 33%, and that took about, again, 2 months of sideways before it dropped off again. And what initiated the drop off again was the close below that midline there. However, I guess we had a few closes, so it's hard to say that really is what dumped it off. It really closing above this dotted support band is what I would classify it as. Bear market is not over, is a close below there. And the next time it hit it was here in just recently. So going off of all that information, I would imagine we see about 2 months of sideways from here. A 24% move, which was the minimum, would be about 78K, which we're, actually not a whole long ways from right now. 60 bars right there would be in April, and around 76K, 77K would be the minimum move that we saw in the past. 50% is all the way up to 94. I don't know. I'm not comfortable saying it's going more than that. I guess 100% would be, back at 126K. I think if we're all the way back there, we're probably bear market is over. But I am not expecting that at all. My first scenario with this would be the minimum, which means sideways for about 2 months and up to 78K area. The midline on the 1 day is at 75. So, perhaps we go sideways, the midline, kind of starts to flatten out. if we get above that midline, I would look into pushes a little bit higher. But again, we'll see where price and the bands are, the ribbons are when that actually happens. But yeah, that's something that's just interesting. The other interesting thing was this has been kind of in a consolidation period. Not necessarily consolidation. Obviously, Bitcoin has made some major new highs. But we did not see this indicator making higher highs. In fact, we saw it making lower highs, slightly lower highs each of the last couple highs there. So if this indicator was in existence already, I would have, that would have been a nice signal to say, hey, we're probably running out of steam here, because you saw price start to make a bit higher highs where this indicator made quite a bit lower highs and then dumped off and broke this range. So whether we go up and test this range right here and then break down again from there, and then we see our bear market bottom, I don't know. This is just something that I'm kind of watching. It's interesting, and we'll go from here and see what happens. But anyway, that's just my general thoughts for where we could be at in the market on the daily time frame. Last thing we're going to look at for Bitcoin is the 5-day. We do have momentum breaking to the downside again. However, it's pretty extreme here. I don't know how much more extreme it can get. So at some point it will wear out. But it is closed. It has closed above this dotted support band, which to me is very bearish. And we saw a test all the way into almost the support one band, not quite, more the support one dotted band right there. So not so sure what to make off of this, except for not necessarily good, especially as long as we are below 91K on a 5-day time frame. If I do see the 5-day time frame close above this dotted support band, okay, I'll be a lot more, not necessarily bullish, but I will at least look for some moves up to that support 1 band right there. Sorry, I called this support 1 earlier. This is support 3. But yeah, that's the 5-day time frame. Yeah, not much else. We have our new 30-minute strategy here. But I believe that's all I want to look at. Let's jump into a couple other quick things, and then we will wrap up for the day. Already looked at the this is 4 hour for silver. Yeah. I want to look at this real fast, because 4 hour for silver had a massive dump off. We saw a close below this dotted support band right there, massive dump off, and now it's been playing below that midline until just now. It broke it, and now it's retesting it. So I do think silver on the 4 hour time frame will make some new, not some new all-time highs, but some new highs from here, and at least test into $91 area over the next day or so. Tesla has been playing off of this dotted support 2 band right here. Tesla does not use this dotted level the same, and the way that I've designed the ribbons around this for Tesla on the daily time frame is a bit different, where it's using the support 2 band more as its bottoming area. Here's my settings if you are interested in those right here. But these, I'm not playing these the same way that I usually play, where swings come off there. My swing plays are off the support 2 band right there. We have seen 3 touches into it. So to me, this is the place to regain momentum. And if we don't, watch out below, I suppose. But yeah, our midline band is about 438 on Tesla, and then we have our resistance dotted band at 472. So that would be a swing to me. If I was trading this, that I would look for a swing up to that area, but invalidate it on a close below support 2 right there. All right, the last thing we're going to look at is a couple new additions to the ribbons. The first thing I updated was the touchline system and keeping track of its, what would this be called? Its hit rate, I suppose. The first thing we can look at back here is when the hit rate, or when the touchline gets invalidated, you see it's dotted now. And sorry, there's so many things on this chart. Ignore all this other stuff. We'll talk about it in a minute. It's this dot. It goes dotted whenever it's invalidated. When it actually does get hit, it stays solid, and you can see has a 79% chance of hitting the resistance touch, and a 58, almost 60% chance of hitting the support touch. So yeah, just a small update there. It obviously does have some failures, but it's been fairly accurate here recently, hitting all the touch lines. We do have a touch line down at 61K. I don't know that we're going to hit that anytime soon, but I might not be, I guess I wouldn't be totally surprised if at some point we did hit that in the next 30 days or so. The other thing that I updated with the ribbons with is our swing actual table here, so you can see how accurate it is based on swings. So the swing long, it will give you a signal saying, okay, hey, this is long or short, and it will give you take profit. Now the take profit are based on wicks into the bands, not closes above them. So this is much more for hand trading. And it also has scalping, which is bouncing back and forth between the bands when it's in a trade. The next thing I'm going to add is trending moves to this, but I will get into that in another video. But yeah, just a nice new update for the ribbons, and much more to come on those. So, all right, I'm going to leave it off there. It was a long video. Thanks for sticking with me. Feel free to give the video a like. It definitely helps out the algorithm. And subscribe if you are not subscribed. I will see you guys next time.